We have lots of things on our agenda today, but Zoe from Stand and Be Counted Theatre Company really kindly about an hour ago, as I was emailing her, just agreed to jump on the call. She's got to go at 4, to just tell you, perhaps you could say who Stand and Be Counted are, Zoe, in case people don't know, and some events that are open to schools and open to families and children. That's right, in Bowling Park during Refugee Week. So we're going to kind of joggle the agenda a bit and just give Zoe an opportunity to share, and then we'll get back to what we were doing. So yeah, Zoe, over to you.
Thank you, Kate, and hello, everybody. My name is Zoe, and I'm an associate artist of Stand and Be Counted Theatre. We are the first theatre company of Sanctuary, celebrating our 15th year this year, which is very exciting. We're working across Sheffield, Bradford, and Oldham, and deliver workshops for young adults who are people seeking sanctuary, but also we have our youth group in Sheffield, our youth theatre of sanctuary, working with children from not really to 17. We are an associate company of Bradford 2025, and that means that we are consulting them in how to make their program accessible for people seeking sanctuary. And we've worked with the different departments throughout the year and before the year started to ensure that as much of the opportunities they're offering can be accessible. As you might imagine, we've met some challenges and still tried to make sure that we can fight some of them back. So we're trying our best. So we have some events at Bowling Park during Refugee Week, to which you're all invited to. Let me get my documents. So we have 3 events. One is sort of durational, if you want, and the other 2 are happening on one day. So on the Friday, we have 2 events called Happy Baby, and they are for, we have 2 slots, a 9:30 a.m. slot for 0 to 2-year-olds and a 10:30 slot for 2 to 4-year-olds, which I'll be running both of those. And they will be sort of sensory movements, play oriented sessions that will be exploring themes around the Moomin House and the big great flood from one of the Moomin books. So themes around nature, community, and sort of how to embody the elements if you want. Oh, I've lost you. Oh, here we are. They are all a drop-in, and you're more than welcome to bring, if you've got nursery children or if you're homeschooling your children. There's no need to book. Yeah. The second event is the Big Blue Bradford House, inspired by the Blue House in Moomins. So over 5 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be building a cardboard house. And the aim is to create a structure that can fit anybody's house in it. So every child can create their own house or a window of a house, or a yard of a house, whatever they want to create off the house they imagine as a welcoming house in Bradford, and stick it onto the construction. So then we'll end up with a really big cardboard house, which will be painted, hopefully folded. That's what we're working on at the moment, and exhibited to different places. The Big Blue Bradford House runs across those 5 days, and there's quite flexible times. So on the 19th of June is from 2 till 6, on the 20th of June from 12 till 6, 21st of June 11 to 4, and 22nd of June 11 to 3. Alongside the Big Bradford House, there will be some other crafty bits. So we'll be creating, thanks, Kate, we'll be creating an orange tree on which people can hang different things that they create with their hands. We will be exploring the sort of nature around the park, and we'll be adding bits from nature onto the house. There will be different activities. This activity is sitting alongside Basil Zara's exhibition, which will be sitting next to the Beacon. The Beacon is Bradford 25's moving venue. And Basil Zara's exhibition. Basil Zara is an artist who is Palestinian and is creating a tent exhibition inspired by a refugee camp tent. There will be different rooms in it with different experiences, and only 8 people at a time can go in. So if you come, you can also visit that. I've sort of sped talked because I have to leave soon, but I've sort of given an overview and some information. Would you like to ask me any questions, or would you like me to say anything more about the things that I've said?
Mhm. Just so I've popped in the chat links to those two things and then the actual Moomin exhibition. I think that Moomin exhibition is coming to like 4 places in the whole country, isn't it? And Bradford being one of them. Is it the South Bank and then it's at Bradford and
Not sure.
so it's really cool to have it. Just to clarify some practicalities, like because we've had a few schools asking about how they can get involved in this by email, which is why we were emailing earlier on. The Big Blue Bradford House. Primary, secondary, any age?
We say any age, but we
Okay.
think we'll have more primary children. But any age, any children are welcome.
And if schools say had a year 4 class, like a whole class could come at once, would we have to contact you to book, etc.?
It would be great if we knew so we can staff it properly. So if any, I mean, we'll have quite a few staff, but if there's also members of the public coming and a full class, it'd be great for us to know in advance so we can make sure that we can support everybody accordingly.
Okay, so they can get in touch with you. I think I popped your email
Yeah,
address
yeah, yeah.
there.
Right to me. Yeah,
So they can come and you'll be there to kind of host them and
I'll
show
be
them
there
around.
throughout the week.
And
You'll
how
you'll.
long do you reckon? What's a good amount of time to spend there for a school?
Um, There'll be other things to do, and the park is a really big park, so I think depends how much time you've got. I'd say the full 4 hours could be used if you wanted, because we can do an hour, they can do have a bit of a break, then they can come back. We can do different activities with them, so it's up to how much time you want to give
Okay.
to it. If it's a secondary school, they can definitely go and watch Basil's exhibition as well.
And is that all up? I'm aware that we have our Sanctuary Awards event in Bowling Park
I'm
on
coming to that
Tuesday the
event as well.
17th. Are you going to be there? Can they do it then as well? So if a school came, because I know like I think Carlton Bowling has.
No, we're currently working through the activities, and
Okay.
because that's going to be a 10-minute activity and rotation, there's no
Yeah.
time to do it. And there might be a mini version of it, but I don't think.
Fine. So it'll be a different day, like Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday. Great. Okay.
Not
Cool.
Monday, Wednesday to Sunday.
Sunday. Write that in the chat. Okay, great. We'll type all this up in the notes and add the links and the contacts.
Mhm.
But it's really nice sometimes to put a face behind these events. So we
Yeah,
get
I'll be there.
bombarded with lots of information and there's actually a human organizing it like you, Zoe, which is lovely.
Well, lots of humans organizing, I have to say.
Lots
I'm a
of
human
humans.
myself.
Yeah, and Zoe's been really instrumental and Stand and Be Counted in Bradford 25 becoming the first, let me get this right, the first cultural city of sanctuary. That's right, isn't it? And there's an amazing video actually that was made about Bradford being a cultural city of sanctuary, which is a really good thing to watch.
Mhm.
So thank you, Zoe. Thanks
That's
for
okay.
coming
Thanks
on.
for
Any other questions for Zoe?
I don't think so.
Brilliant.
If anything comes, you can always write to me and I'll respond by email. So don't hesitate to write to me. And if you
Yeah,
do
and if
bring your
people
whole
want
class,
to get
bring it.
involved more generally with Stand and Be Counted,
Yes.
get
We,
involved with Zoe as well.
we
I know.
currently don't have a youth theatre of sanctuary in Bradford, but we're working on creating one. But we do run creative sessions for young adults, which is 18 to 35, really. That's what we identify. People seeking sanctuary. And we have a group of 15, um, which is always growing and it's a bit scary, but great as well. So if you know of anybody, you can get in touch with me and bring them over. I do go to all the drop-ins and I've brought a lot of people through that as well.
Okey-doke. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Zoe.
Nice to see your
Take
faces.
care.
Hope to see you soon.
See
Bye.
you around. Bye. Um, okay. So, thanks everybody for coming tonight. I've had quite a few apologies, and we're really aware it's a busy time of year with primary SATs, week before half term, exams, secondary schools, all sorts of things. So thanks for your time tonight. It is our last meeting of the year. Yeah, because June and July are just busy and then rolling into the summer. So What we'd really like to do today is just share a bit of news with you, and then we've got Beth from an organisation called Kaleidoscope who's going to speak to us for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to share some Refugee Week stuff with you. You've probably seen lots of it come through to you on too many emails, and it'd be great to hear if anybody has any plans as well, what you're up to, because we always get ideas from other people too. So first of all, big news. We have a new School of Sanctuary. I'm glad that Emily's here today. Um, and I haven't shared this with anyone, Emily. So communities of practice are the only group that will know so far. But yeah, last week Hanson Academy had their appraisal, and we had a brilliant morning on the back of a brilliant application and portfolio, and the work Emily and her colleagues have done in creating a new to English provision and just celebrating the diversity that now exists at Hanson is amazing. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, but this was a presentation that some of your students, is it your sixth form students?
Yeah, it was done by sixth form as part of the City of Culture stuff.
Okay, so done by sixth form students at Hanson for City of Culture things. And I pulled out some of the quotes. They made this amazing PowerPoint. But I think if you just take like a minute to read some of these quotes about pupils' experience of being at Hanson, I don't think anything sums it up better than I could about how people feel at home, how different cultures are celebrated, how welcome, and we were walked around by some incredible students who have felt so welcomed and embraced, whether they spoke English or didn't speak English when they arrived at Hanson. So we're really excited to have Hanson in our network, and massive well done to Emily for getting the application in amidst a wedding and exams and a thousand other things that you had on your plate. So we look forward to celebrating you in June at our ceremony. Well, I need the clapping emoji. I can't find it because I'm on screen share, but well done. Any questions for Emily? Any comments you have, Emily, before I move on?
I think it was such a nice day. Like all the students that were part of it have come to me afterwards saying how nice you all were and like how they liked showing off the school. So that was really nice.
Oh, they were so proud, weren't they? They were really proud and really genuine. It didn't feel like you'd sort of primed them. What they spoke of really felt from the heart. And we had, in fact, some of us were in tears. We won't go into too much detail, but yeah, it was really moving. There were some really moving moments. So yeah, thank you. Great. So that was our news section. I'm just gonna leave it with exciting news because we'll talk about Refugee Week later. So really excited to have Beth here from Kaleidoscope. Um, Kaleidoscope, Beth will tell you more, work with young people in Calais. And Beth, you currently live in Leeds, I think, don't you? But you've volunteered, and you'll tell this, you volunteered in Calais a lot with Kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
And this is really relevant because we have children in our schools in Bradford who have spent time in Calais. I was at a school a couple of months ago, St Joseph's up near St Luke's, and we were walking around with the head, and she was, looking at some of the classrooms. And in one of the year four classrooms, they'd had a boy that had just come across the channel only 3 weeks ago. So had been sent, pretty much direct from sort of Dover, London, up to Bradford. And the trauma of that journey was still really fresh. I think often we tend to think, oh, we've got so and so in our classroom, he's from Afghanistan. What's Afghanistan like? How is that culturally different, etc. But the journey and the waiting in places like Calais on the way sometimes are a bit overlooked. So we've got Beth here today to talk about her experience of working with young people in Calais, many of them who do go on to, be in our classrooms in Bradford. Anyway, that was my introduction to you, Beth. I will let you take over from here. But as we go forward, think of any questions you have or any reflections. But I'll hand over to you now, Beth, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Kate. I'll just see if I can figure it out. Am I sharing my screen?
Quite yet.
Wait, can you see it?
Not
I
yet.
think it was a little while to load.
Okay.
It worked earlier on, didn't it?
Yeah. If I click on that.
Yeah, something's
Ah,
happening.
yeah.
There we go. Got it.
Okay. So hello. I'm Beth and I'm a remote volunteer for Kaleidoscope, which is obviously, as Kate's just mentioned, a charity that's very grassroots, and was started in 2023, so we're still pretty fresh. But yeah, we're a charity that works with displaced young people on the border. I want to start with the presentation, obviously, just so kind of maybe those preconceptions that goes on about Calais. It's all about the boats and, sadly stopping the boats, but maybe what isn't really, coincidentally covered in the media is the kind of conditions that are on the ground, which, I mean, I found even researching for this presentation, it's really hard to Google and find out about what's actually happening. So I just want to set that context for you firstly. Um, I know some of you might have heard of the jungle. So obviously that was this huge refugee camp that was in Calais. I mean, it looks very well organized there, but I mean, here's another picture from it. So it was really horrific conditions, but it was still a place where people could access running water and food and some kind of shelter. So it was still a place where people who were trying to claim asylum in the UK could like be together at least. But what happened in 2016 was as it was burnt down by the French police, funded by the English public, like that's taxpayer money. And this is what it looks like now. Because the refugee camp has been burnt down, it means that helping the thousands of people that come through Calais every year is even harder than it ever has been. And that's because of the zero fixation policy. So I don't know if any of you have heard of it before, but it means that the French forces go around and evict people every 36 to 48 hours. And it's not just asking people to move on. They're quite violent evictions. It means that people get their belongings taken off them or their tents are slashed. And something that was really devastating while I was over there was that refugees stopped taking tents from some of the charities because they couldn't bear to have something destroyed in front of them again. And that was in November. So that's when you'd have no shelter. It's absolutely freezing. So, like, I can't stress how horrific the conditions are on the ground. And I just kind of want to give a bit of detail, like, from charity to charity, like the struggles that we've had to face. So here's just a picture of some of the organisations going out to support people. But yeah, so what is often lost in the narrative about Calais is that it's not just young men who are having to survive these horrific conditions. There are families and children there. So on average, it's about 200 children in Calais who also have to face these evictions, and like obviously horrific conditions. But I mean, while I was there, there was the boat crossing and children were tear gassed by the police. Like it is just in so hard to process. And like another example there, when I was there in 2023, there was a natural disaster. There was a really big flood, and despite giving millions to try and like rebuild in France, the government refused to give any emergency shelter, despite there being a whole like protest like continuously every night outside the city council hall. But there was just absolutely nothing for these people, including like those families and children. Um, just a bit about the context of who's on the ground. So there's a warehouse and there's about 9 to 10 charities, including Kaleidoscope, that do different things for the people on the ground. So there's Calais Food Collective, which is a bunch of, at times, 6 volunteers who distribute water to thousands of refugees a year. And they have these big containers, which they distribute because obviously there isn't a refugee camp. So you have to be in different places so people can gain access in different ways. But the struggles they've had to face, as you can read, there was human feces found in the water tanks because that's what local people had decided to do. Every year we've had the police either slash those water tanks or like take them away. Another example of like the hardships that charities face on the ground is Collective Aid had a really incredible wash centre. So it was a place that people could go to wash their clothes, be inside in a warm space. But that was shut down by French authority, despite us having a really big legal battle that I was involved with doing some fundraising for that, but sadly it was shut down anyway for no valid reason. And finally, I'm sorry, I do apologise. I know this is all quite devastating to hear, but while I was over there, I attended 11 funerals, and some of those funerals were people who died at sea. But one of the funerals was a Sudanese man who was killed by the police, um, because there's just like absolutely no protection for these people. Um, so yeah, it is really messed up what's happening on our doorstep, and there's no two ways to describe it. But on another note, we still keep fighting. And despite there not being any refugee camp, and all these things going on, Amazing Meg, who started this charity, who's one of my close friends, she went over there by herself and she started this charity and she's built it within a year. And so she wanted to do it as a registered youth worker because we both had worked with Project Play before, which is a charity that works with young children. But there's nothing for those young adults. So obviously you just mentioned, well, me and Kate were having a chat about unaccompanied minors. So that's a really big thing in Calais, is that you have children as young as 12 to 13 who are unaccompanied or might be with uncle, but it's someone that they don't really know. So there isn't anything for these young people to be young people. So that's what Meg really set out with the aspiration to achieve. And obviously, these people are not in school. They are really like, they don't have any space to just be kids, essentially. But a really incredible fact is that in just over a year, we've been able to reach 450 young people through our sessions. So we do mobile sessions, and there's different day centres. So we work with some of the partners on the ground. So there's places for us to go where young people can find us. But then we also do mobile sessions. So we go to different areas where there's usually people are camping and then they get moved on. So yeah, really, really incredible. And I'm just so proud of her and the volunteers that have been able to reach that many people. But there's so many more young people that are coming through Calais and so many more people that we need to help. So the goal is to be able to get enough funding to have a mobile youth space. So we're trying to get a caravan at the minute so that kids can have an indoor space to stay warm and also be able to experience those things. So it's just some examples of the sessions that we did. We've got like different activities. We did like clay modeling, like making like crispy, like chocolate crispy cakes. But also, as you can see on the right, we were able to get some woodwork tools, and the young people were able to build a game, which really gave them that sense of pride and achievement. There was a lot of things about perfectionism. I mean, a devastating thing is that while they were doing this activity, there was an eviction happening in the background. And that's just the reality of the conditions that they're in. But we're just really passionate about staying on the ground, and building what we can do for these people so that no matter, what circumstances they're in, they're able to have that hour of just peace to be a young person again. So yeah, why am I here? Essentially, is we've developed a toolkit as our like next steps as a charity. And what that means is we've created like the Learn. So we've got some videos, some different activities on the context in Calais that are different age appropriate. So we've done like a Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 toolkit. Because obviously you wouldn't want to be sharing all of this with the Year 4 classroom. It's pretty heavy stuff. And then what we'd really ideally like to do is be able to encourage, young people, especially in secondary schools, to take this on board and come up with their own ideas and lead it themselves, so they can, gain skills, but then also be able to empathize with people who are in the exact same age, but just completely different circumstances a few miles away. So essentially in France, but also raise awareness of what's happening on our border and why we should be angry about it and why we need to fight for it. Because it's not going away, sadly, especially with the current politics. So yeah, that is what Kaleidoscope does. Sorry, I really mumbled that. But thank you so much for listening. If anybody has any questions, obviously ask them now, but I'll leave my email in the chat as well. And I'm also offering, so I grew up in Bradford, and I have a car now. So I work part-time, so I'm able to do assemblies or workshops during Refugee Week or the week afterwards. So yeah, that's why I'm here. But thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Beth. And before we delve sort of deeper into some questions, just to say, yeah, you're booked into Co-op Academy Grange, I think, aren't you, on that Monday to do an assembly and a workshop with some students.
Yeah.
Your toolkits I put in the chat, the link there, they are really good, different ages. As Beth said, like you've got to be careful what you obviously land on children and what's might be traumatic, etc. So yeah, no, they're really well written. But in regards to Beth's presentation, like thoughts, feelings, has anybody known anybody that's come from Calais? Has anybody had experiences in their classroom of people who've traveled? Did you know much about the current situation? Like, I kind of work in this sector and I'm still shocked every time I see the pictures. Um, yeah, I you don't often see that in our media. You just see boats crossing the channel and the words like invasion. But yeah, I'll leave some space.
Just to say thank you, Beth. That was really, really interesting and informative. And I agree with you, Kate. We don't often see those pictures. So that was really interesting. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, no, honestly, it's just so nice to be able to talk about it because you come back from a place like that and you've seen it, and then it's kind of like, well, what do you do with it? So it's, especially in a group like this, just appreciate being able to talk about it and raise awareness.
I think it was really helpful, thank you. I've had students quite often tell us about being on a boat, but I've never, none of them have ever told me about being in Calais, but I know they were at some point, so maybe it's something they're not ready to talk about yet.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Because there are some safe, so there is a few safe houses, but obviously that's usually for people with really young children and babies, and getting into it's really hard because they don't allow men in the house. And they're usually miles and miles out of Calais as well. So that's just, yeah, it's rough. It's not okay what happens there.
because if people aren't staying in tents, like where are people staying? Are they just pitching tents and then being cleared, or is you said there are some safe houses, but has anybody got? I don't know. Where is everyone? Are they just all
Well,
spread
that's
around
the thing.
Calais as well?
Yeah, and you know, I just don't. It was just so devastating when they burnt it down because that was 20 years in the making from so many organisations coming together to have some kind of structure. But now there's just people everywhere, which then creates more tension with local people. And yeah, they're just constant. There was a real there was absolute saint, Pierre. He used to have a van and he'd drive to sites really early in the morning if he knew there was an eviction. So what refugees would put their stuff in his van, and then when they were evicted they wouldn't lose all their belongings. But then the police like took his van away and wouldn't give it back. And he's like, they like couldn't even pay for it back, so it just got taken off him. And he went on hunger strike. I think he lasted over a month. But yeah, it didn't achieve sadly what we wanted it to achieve, but got still keep fighting.
Do you have ways of looking after yourselves? Because it sounds really heavy duty.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, that's why I was supposed to be there for 4 months and I only did 3. just
Right.
because.
Still a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also what's really good about Kaleidoscope is Meg's number one priority really is the volunteers. So they being able to get a really nice like a living space. Because when I was there, um, the charity was amazing, but because when you've been there for so long, the energy to keep going, especially when a lot of people are on like non-paid, like Kaleidoscope, Meg is the only paid member of staff. And you can't afford to obviously pay anyone else because you want it to go to supplies and efforts. But yeah, when I was there, it was just like, yeah, there was no heating and there was electrical, like, yeah, I won't go into the details, but it was it was a very interesting experience. But I mean, if this has touched any of you, volunteering can be quite easy there. Like there's RCK, which is Refugee Community Kitchen, and you can volunteer there for as little as a few days. But they're a great organisation that distributes hot food to people on the border every day. But yeah, just I mean, looking into it, they're called the Calais Appeal. So that's the umbrella term for all the different organisations and the work that
There's
they do.
Care for Cali, isn't there? I know that they have drop-off points around the country where you can like drop off tents and clothes and boots and
We have
stuff.
one. We have one in Settle.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you have got one in Settle?
Somebody collects it and it gets taken to it's the northwest. They go to Liverpool, I think.
Yeah,
So,
Care for
but they also help people here, you see. So it's not necessarily going over to Calais.
yeah. Calais Appeal and Care for Calais. Um, are just quite different in their approaches to it. I think Care for Calais has come a long way, to be fair. I haven't looked into that because they got a new, um, like, not CEO, but like someone who was directing it. But at
Okay.
times it wasn't very organized and it was, um, yeah, there was just tensions between the two. So they're like obviously in support of what everybody's doing it, but they just do it in different ways.
Mhm. And in your packs, Beth, obviously it's a really good way of raising awareness about what's going on. But and like advocacy is really important, isn't it? And it's such a hot political, difficult issue. And obviously in schools, you have to be super careful in like being non-political,
Yeah.
but you can still raise awareness. And I think that's where you've kind of got to land with this in a way. And like what I guess what are we asking? What are we saying that we want to happen? Like more safe routes to the UK, better living conditions, that kind of thing, more
But yeah,
awareness.
I think that's the issue is that it's always spoken about like it's like border politics when it's just basic human rights violations. That's what's
Mm,
happening on the border. So it's and that's not our problem because it's our government who fund the French government who are doing it. So I guess it's raising awareness of the violations of human rights that are happening. And especially when it comes to work around young people and children, is that all children have the right to play, all children have the right to,
mhm,
thrive and have an experience. Like they're just allowed to be kids, essentially. And that's the main thing that you fight for. I mean, what um Calais Food Collective did achieve was the right to water. But the French government still hasn't followed through with any of like the legal promises that was made with that legal battle.
mm,
So
So when you do a presentation with a school, do you talk to the teachers first and sort of check out the level and how long would it be? How long would you?
I mean, so it's very fresh. I haven't done a presentation. It would be kind of just working with the school. The
See what you want and
Yeah,
what
this conversation is quite different to how obviously I'd go into a school.
mm,
mm.
Um, and I'd base it more around the pack. So I've got some really good videos, kind of describing things in like that child-friendly manner. But I
and
think,
people's experiences, aren't you? You're talking about like people's stories,
yeah,
with a helpful way to frame stuff.
yeah, we could definitely do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just it's just flexible. Obviously it would be in June, um, and it would just be working. I've got another really great volunteer, Sam, who would be able to shape things if there's a certain thing that you'd want for a school. But yeah,
That
just
picture of the two children in front of it was amazing. I've not seen that before. It was amazing.
yeah.
There's so much in just one picture.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do a whole lesson on that picture, couldn't you, alone? Um,
I also just wondered, I don't know, but if you had come across any like literature or children's books you recommended on rights of the child, because sometimes we find that some of them can be quite alienating if you've got children in a school that are also experiencing deprivation. And you don't want to say every child is entitled to this, this, and this if we know that some of our own communities struggle with access to those things sometimes. So
Yeah.
if you had any recommendations.
Definitely. I know Sam's got a list, so
Okay.
I'll be able to forward that on. Because you're right, it's a weird one, especially when you're working with kids, because yeah, it's not like people in the UK aren't dealing with their own issues too. So it's just, I think when we're talking about raising that kind of awareness, you do it differently in a secondary school,
Mm.
just about what's happening so close to home.
Thanks, Beth. Oh, no, no, Amira, go.
So I was just going to say, I'll send you an email, then hopefully you could send that over. That'd be really useful.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. And I think, did you mention Project Play, Beth? They got in touch with us last week, actually, saying they've developed some new teaching resources, things that could we share with schools about more primary age and children that have come from Calais.
Oh, really?
Anyway, we can talk about that.
Was it Rachel or
Um,
Katie?
Rachel, I think. Yeah, from Manchester.
Oh,
Mm.
oh, I'll email her too because that would be great. Sorry, okay, that's no, because I know them all so well. I mean, I lived with them for months, so that's just yeah.
Ah, it's a small charity world. But thank you. Yeah, do get in touch with Beth. The link to the pack is in the chat, but it's also in our Refugee Week pack that I will be sharing. So yeah, do get in touch with her. Have a look through the pack, see if anything is interest or how you could weave that into your, not just during Refugee Week, all the time, anytime, PHSE curriculum, citizenship, British values, etc. It can all be kind of weaved in. But yeah, that's brilliant. Just moving on to the next bit of our agenda, I just wanted to flag a few Refugee Week things, including you can see the link. You should have all received the PDF of this in one of the many mail outs. Apologies for too many emails, but all of these hyperlink to our website where you can find further details. For example, if you clicked on the Kaleidoscope at the bottom on the right there, you'll get to the Kaleidoscope teaching resources. But just want to say there's so much to potentially get involved with. I always think pick one thing and do it well. But whatever's best. There's quite a few primaries, for example, doing Day of Welcome on the 13th of June. That falls before Refugee Week. And actually, let me share. I need to show you on the website really because that is better. Let me just find this one here, share. So can we see here? Okay, so if you go to here, this is our website, 12 ways to get involved. If you click on each of these things here, you will find, for example, a day of welcome. So a day of welcome takes you to here. There are so many teaching resources on a day of welcome. There are live events with different authors, different refugees sharing stories, different assemblies. If you register here, you'll get everything straight to your inbox. It is more primary, but yeah, it's a national thing, loads and loads of stuff, tons of resources. Can't recommend it enough. And so we collaborate with Day of Welcome for that particular day on the 13th. Going back to here, we obviously have assemblies and workshops. I know Fraha is getting very booked up. We also offer assemblies. Some of you are getting involved in our art exhibition, which I think we had over 120 pieces last year. If you'd still like to get involved in that, we have space for a couple more schools, I think. And those will be going out across the district to different libraries. And we've had some incredible entries in previous years. I presume my screen sharing is working. But yeah, really, really moving pieces that have ended up going into council meeting rooms or being shared online and just all over. So if your school would like to get involved, do direct your art club, your art coordinator, whoever, to this page. It's around the theme for Refugee Week this year, which is community as a superpower. And there's loads of Moomin related art things that you can use as a starting point. But whatever, yeah, pupils feel inspired to do. We have got a fundraiser. We are always on the lookout for funding. And we've now created this schools pack here. Again, might have been emailed to you, but if not, it's on our website. There are some ideas here. Have a little look, and then there's some of our kind of posters. There's even a template letter if you want to send that to parents, all the way down there. I'm kind of really where I'm racing through some of these things. Lesson resources, tons of different things. Asylum speakers, they are in-person talks. We said we'd help promote them this year. They have people who come up actually from all over the UK to do talks in schools. The Moomins, they've done some really nice new school packs, different key stages. This is the Moomin House. For anybody not in the know about the Moomin's link is it's the 80th anniversary from the story of the Moomins and the Great Flood, which is a story about the Moomins seeking sanctuary. And that, as Zoe said, is being celebrated at the Beacon, like the special Moomins exhibition is coming up. But there are loads of pedagogical materials, they call them, aka teaching resources, here in different languages, but also different age groups that are really, really good. We obviously have Tom Harmer, who made the Sanctuary Seekers of Bradford. He's always very keen to do workshops and brings in some of the cast. We did them with you, Marketta, last year, didn't we, at Carlton Bolling? Staff CPD, and then we've got Kaleidoscope down here. So there's loads of ways to get involved. I know it's always a busy time, but do have a think about things you might like to do in school, out school, in-house, getting people in. I always think kind of every week should be Refugee Week, and it's why I like Schools of Sanctuary, because we talk about how to embed these themes across the whole year rather than cover it all in one week. But it is a good time in the school calendar to hone in on it. I think, let me go back to my presentation a second. Share. Oh, not that. Sorry. Actually, that was my last slide. My next slide only said, what are your plans for Refugee Week? So, has anybody got any plans for Refugee Week? Has anybody got anything either mentioned or I've not mentioned that they're doing? I'm aware it's 1 week until half term, and then it's half term, and then it's about a week, and then it's Refugee Week. Hi, Daniela.
Hi, Kate. Sorry, I wasn't. I'm in a car, so it's quite difficult to have my camera, but I'm stationary now.
Oh, no worries. You're very clear. I can hear you perfectly.
Amazing. So, yeah, we've got plans for a refugee week. I'm hoping that they will come. They will come as I planned it. So we wanted to invite our own pre-stop refugee who was a Syrian, or who is a Syrian refugee, and he was at pre-stop a few years ago. He graduated a few years ago, so we're planning to invite him to give us a talk in assembly.
Oh, great.
For all students, hopefully, or for as many students as he can, because I don't know if he can do all 3 days when we have assemblies for students. And then I'm planning week after. It's not it is for Refugee Week, but I have to do it week after due to the exams, because we've got 10-year exams as well, and I don't have a space. So I'm planning to invite, do like a coffee morning and invite parents. And I would like students to share a bit of a like a cultural thing they do in their countries. Maybe it's Afghanistan, so they quite like kites. So something positive
Hmm.
to share what different cultures do, not
Mm.
necessarily around refugees, but
Yeah,
yeah. So that's my plan, and hopefully it will come true because
that
that's
sounds really good.
just me doing it, so it's quite difficult to manage. Yeah, with
Yeah.
of, um, on top of other things that I need to do. Yeah.
I'm definitely aware in a big secondary school, it does often land more on, it's harder to do a whole school thing,
Yeah.
isn't it, than in like a small primary school where everyone can just stop what they're doing for the day and do something. It's different.
Okay. Yes, that's our plans.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And really nice to celebrate things. And yeah, I do think it, in a way, Refugee Week is a funny one because you don't want people to feel singled out. You certainly don't want
Yeah,
refugees and people seeking asylum to feel like, oh, it's a week where we're all focusing on you. So I think, we have to manage that
mm,
tension and that and be just subtle and discreet, but celebrating other cultures is a really lovely way of doing it, isn't it? And just people sharing their stories, like having someone that's been at your school is very easy for others to relate to then, isn't it? About a story
mm,
about overcoming and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I did 1 year like a share a dish. So we did our EAL cookbook. So I gathered recipes
Mm.
and then share it with staff, and it was received quite positively. And I think last year I did think that students said thank you or taught few words in their language to other people. So we did like a little video that then I shared again with staff.
Nice. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm gonna, hopefully AI is minuting this meeting. So we're gonna have all these ideas written down and I will be able to send those out because there's some really extra lovely ideas there. Thank you. And do share anything with us, either on social media or email them to me because we'd love to sort of collect what schools are doing across the district, including on the border with Leeds and Bradford, um, what people are doing.
Oh, thank you very much for everything. I'll have to definitely.
Thanks, Daniela.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Mhm. Anybody else? I know, Marketa, you've got a lot planned, but I'm not going to put you on the spot because I always do put you on the
No,
spot.
it's all right. We do have some plans, but it's all still in a
The pipeline.
preparation stage. And yes, tomorrow I'm meeting with my colleague who is a PSHE lead, so hopefully we'll put some plan together. I think we want to definitely have a culture day. But we're going to do a fundraiser as well for the schools of sanctuary.
Oh,
So we're going to have a bake sale. And if any of the schools, we need more football players. I know Emily has kindly agreed, and so Hanson will be joining us, but we need more teams. So we're very eager for other secondary schools to come on board, and so we can
yeah.
have a proper tournament.
Well, I put out an email today, so we'll
Thank
see. I know that 1 in a million are really keen, and Co-op Academy Grange possibly too.
Okay, that'd be
Am I
great.
able to include year 10s in the football team? I think they'll be very sad not to be included.
I know I've got the same issue because I've got a few boys in year 11 who are not in the, who are in the new to English provision. So let me speak to my colleague because he's the one who wants to take lead on that. So I'll ask him because it would be nice if they could be even mixed, like a year group teams. It's
And it's boys and girls, isn't it? Or is it just boys? What? No, it's everyone.
well,
Don't want anybody to get a nasty injury or anything.
no, so it's yeah, I don't I don't know. At this stage, we're struggling to get enough teams. So, what did you think, Emily? Do you have so far only boys interested, or
Um, I'm I'm not sure. Chris done all the working out what team we can get. Um,
Yeah,
but I know there's a lot. The year 10 boys keep coming up to me and asking when the football game is.
No.
I
yeah.
think they're keen
Okay.
to win.
All right. Okay. So let me speak to Matt and I'll come back to you. I think it'll be quite difficult to get the girls on board because when the boys get into it,
Yeah.
it will like a mixed team would be quite hard, I would think.
I was, yeah, yeah,
The
I was
boys are
thinking
quite,
that.
yeah, well, even girls are competitive, I can't say, but yeah, just, but I think mixed team at this stage, I don't think it would quite work. Yeah,
Great. Oh, well, hopefully other schools will come back to me
I hope so. It'd be
soon,
nice.
as soon as I put that reminder out today. And Carlton Bolling have done amazing, incredible work for the art exhibition for years now.
We're
So
behind at the moment, so don't.
no pressure, but I'm expecting great things. Yeah, but no, thank you. Thank you for doing some things. Great. Well, I will send out all those bits again at some point. But yeah, just share anything you do. Do keep in touch. Angie, have you got anything? Angie's in Craven with Schools of Sanctuary. Are any of your schools doing things?
Not that I know of yet. No,
Okay.
we've got one trying to do reaccreditation, and I think that's just playing on their minds. We
Ah,
have got one or two nurseries and public libraries doing story time with a relevant book in the week. So
ah,
something that's sort of quite easy. Yeah.
that's great. I know that Bradford Council are putting together a big website of all the different events and festivals. There's a big festival on the Sunday at Bowling Park, um, for families and things, but that website will probably come out the week before. But we shall see. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for giving your time and all your energy. And thank you for those that have, yeah, come so many times this year. And we'll send out the recording of this for everybody who wasn't able to make it. But yeah, have a lovely half term for those of you that are on half term, and we'll be in touch. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks. Bye.